This presentation is going to be about the whys and whats of hospital wireless network security. In some ways, hospital wireless security is the same as any other wireless securities, but we're also going to talk about what makes a hospital security so much more challenging and what a hospital can do to secure their wireless network. So we know that wireless networks, any network, should be secure, but hospitals are held to a higher standard of security because of the extreme sensitivity of the patient health records that they're transmitting and storing. The goals of any wireless security should be confidentiality, integrity, availability, and access control. Confidentiality is that the information will be limited to being accessed by people who are authorized to access it and nobody else. So obviously authorization is the key factor. Integrity is that the information is in the state of being whole, unchanged. No wire sniffing software has opened it up and looked at it. Availability, that the information is readily accessible by the authorized people. So a doctor could enter orders for a patient, and then the pharmacy software can validate that doctor's medication order, and then the order will be added to the patient's electronic health record. So that's where the software needs to be able to access the correct information. Access controls, restricted ability or permission to view the information. So there's like a different levels of accessing based on what your role is in the network. Challenges to a hospital's wireless network are that it has lots of independent people with their own personal devices, like a doctor's tablet, patient's smartphone, and these all need to access it securely. The hospital has its own equipment that accesses the internet or accesses the network wirelessly. Each piece of equipment has its own security that it can enable. That has to be taken into account, and the fact that you're dealing with very sensitive personal records that have to be guarded is another big safety issue. What can hospitals do? Hospitals can come up with a security policy. They need to do authentication of users and devices, and they also need to encrypt on their networks. So their security policy should be a role-based access control, and that means you create groups of users and give them the minimum access to the network for them to be able to perform their job. Then this role-based security policy needs to be integrated into the directory services on the network, and that also limits access, that makes it automated. Authentication is knowing who the user and their device is, and are they really who they say they are. The best authentication is Extensible Authentication Protocol, AEP, and it involves 3 devices: the wireless device sending, like a laptop, sending the credentials, the username and password to the access point, which is the authenticator. The access point sends the credentials to the authentication server, and the authentication server checks its list of users and passes back the information to the authenticator, and the authenticator either allows or does not denies service to the wireless. Encryption is the last piece of security, where they're protecting the information, the packets being sent over the network. WPA is the strongest known encryption. It uses Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, with a 92-bit key length, 92 bits or better key length. It uses a 4-way handshake to validate that both end users have a master key. It also uses EAP authentication of these devices, and then it shares the key. The encryption keys that are used for each device on the network are unique and specific to that peer, and they are changed with each connection. So the security is increased with the use of a new and unique encryption key every time, and there's no key reuse. So even though securing a hospital's wireless network can be overwhelming, with the proper security policy and authentication and encryption in place, the wireless network can be as secure as the wired network.